So let us begin by asking, what is a machinist? Well, following the example of Sid Garland, who had time and again demonstrated the potential of magic tech, the Skysteel manufactory began their tireless work on the development of advanced armaments. As new and devastating weapons were brought into the fray, a new class of champion arose to wield them, the machinist. As for its brief history, down through the centuries of Ishgard's endless conflicts with the Dravanians, the city-state's engineers have devised and improved upon many different dragon-killing contrivances. Their successes inspired the construction of the Skysteel manufactory in the year 1483 of the Sixth Astral Era, where resident artisans to this day continue to invent weapons such as the cerulean-propelled giant ballista and the quad-barreled Bertha cannon. Many of these modern advances can be attributed to Stefan Vivian del Helionat, the manufactory's brilliant chief who has enthusiastically welcomed the assistance of Garland's ironworks with incorporating imperial magitech into traditional Ishgardian craftsmanship. Rather than simply adapt this technology for existing purposes, however, Stefan Vivian has combined magic tech with etherology to develop an entirely new form of weaponry. His primary achievement has been the creation of the Ethero Transmitter, a device which converts the wearer's innate mana into lightning-aspected energy suited for powering the chief's revolutionary inventions. In addition to instruction volunteers in the use of the transformer, Stefan Vivian has employed a master of marksmanship from Limsa Lominsa to train an ever-growing number of recruits. Armed with their signature firearms and a repertoire of technological marvels, these soldiers of a new age are known simply as machinists. Machinist is a job that many in Eorzea would look down upon because of the weapon's association with Golemald, which is a reasonable assumption, for normally, a revolver doesn't require magic in order to use skillfully, something that the Garlean people struggle with. Though while there are many incorporations from the Garleans in the overall design and function, this particular job crystal can be found in the Skysteel manufactory in Ishgard. There are still new designs being drawn up and built all the time that will continue to help improve all manner of marksmanship and the overall power of the weapons. And while these revolvers primarily use bullets, some abilities do allow one to be able to infuse them with a minimum amount of ether to help increase attack power and even create deadlier attacks. But unlike other jobs that are heavily focused upon using magic or sheer raw strength to overcome their foes, using a long-distance attack like this one will allow one to become more creative and technical in battle, which includes being able to wield a wide array of weapons other than a revolver. As for the best type of equipment needed to bring out the full potential of the machinist, based on a proposal made by Stefan Vivian, the ideal garb design prioritizes ease of movement over the heavy protection favored by close-quarter combatants. And while not completely necessary, it is becoming a bit more common to see a side apron tool pouch, which is able to store the machinist's transformer, ammunition, and various other devices employed in the machinistry profession. As for the revolvers themselves, there are several different types that are used, such as the Ferdinand, where it's a double-barreled firearm, which features a unique form of propulsion that relies on a wind crystal pressured cartilage, rather than the explosiveness of forehand. And then you have others like the pre-Imperial Garlean revolver, that is able to fire multiple shots before reloading. And then there's the Peacemaker, that can only fire single shots but have lightning crystal embedded in its frame to assume to serve the function of increasing a shot's initial velocity. The point here is that there are many different types of revolvers, and it is important for any master of marksmanship to be able to know these different types and when to use them. The Machinist is known to be a fast-paced range damage dealer that specializes in maintaining almost a constant barrage of damage through mechanics and a lot of freedom of movement. Probably out of all the range jobs that we have, like the Bard and Dancer, the Machinist is the one that deals the most powerful punches of the three. Thanks to the many different weapons that come along with it as well, it is also easy to be able to change tactics in a heartbeat if needed. Such additions to the main weapon include the Ethero Transformer, which, like I said before, is a device that converts the wearer's ether into lightning-aspected energy, which in turn stored within the Transformer's crystal's cores. which then allows the machinist to draw upon this accumulated energy to both power and enhance her unique repertoire of weapons, requiring her to master skills far beyond those trained by any mundane sharpshooter. We also have the auto turret, which is a portable, self-firing cannon that comes in two variations. You have the Rook, which fires upon a single target. Stefan Vivian later improved the veracity of the auto turrets, which allows the machinist to convert the cannons into tools that replenish mana and restore vigor at the same time. So we can look at a few more tricks of the trade involving the most iconic abilities the machinist is able to use, and we're starting off with the limit break satellite beam. This ability allows one to summon a miniature satellite that is able to deal out a devastating blast of pure ether. Thanks to the crystal drive unit's emission, the concentrated ether is able to produce a blinding force in a straight line before you. We also have some other abilities, such as the slug shot, which swaps out standard bullets for an oversized slug. This shot impacts the target with shuddering force, and in this fashion, a trained machinist employs various techniques to take advantage of a multitude of custom ammunition. The gauze barrel, which is an attachment for machinist weapons. By infusing the barrel with the Ethero Transformer's accumulated energy, the velocity and penetrating power of subsequent shots are substantially increased. And Ricochet. After casting out a number of Ishgardian steel reflections, the machinist fires a single bullet that bounces between each metal plate. This technique can hit multiple targets with its deadly and unpredictable trajectory. Now, I will refrain from speaking too much about the job quests if you haven't played through them yet, but I will be giving a brief description of some key characters who are noted figures in helping us throughout the journey. The eldest son of House Helionarts, as a child, Stefan Vivian often indulged his obsession with machinery by visiting the manufactory. His quick mind was already absorbing whatever scraps of knowledge the engineers and his family's employ would throw his way. His frequent association with low-born artisans, unheard of amongst the haughty nobility of Ishgard, likely contributed to Stefan Vivian's unusual enlightened attitude. After coming of age and unofficially assuming the position of manufactory chief, Stefan Vivian actively sought the cooperation of organizations outside of Ishgard, drafting up contracts for technological exchange with Jesse J., the deputy president of Garland Ironworks, and even hiring a Lominson to teach his machinists in marksmanship. He's also a stout believer in encouraging the partial independence of Ishgard's commoners, reasoning that every machinist recruit can only strengthen the city-state's defenses. Rostar was once better known as Stallman Stallmanson, the Commodore of Limsa Lominsa's Knights of the Barracuda. At the peak of his career, Stallman was responsible for ordering a self-serving and reckless operation that aimed to oust the current admiral using the treasures of the fabled Seal Rock, a mission that succeeded in uncovering a ritual artifact for summoning primals. But the operation soon went awry. With many of his subordinates slaughtered and the artifact taken, Stallman's reputation was shattered beyond repair. Stripped of his ranks, he took up the name Rostal, meaning rusty steel in the old Rogadan tongue, and recruited his own crew of pirates in an ultimately unsuccessful bid to steal back the lost relic. The years following his failure were spent wallowing in the cheap grog and misery, until an unexpected offer from distant Ishgard saw him accept the post of a marksmanship instructor. As for the journey to becoming a machinist, the only way that one can learn to handle not only the weapon itself, but also have all the tools and equipment that you'll need would be at the Skysteel Manufactory. Thankfully, Stefan Vivian is not above teaching even commoners these skills. If you have a passion for firing off rounds and to protect what you hold dear, he will be the first to assist in picking out the perfect starting weapons for you. Don't be surprised though if you meet some of the more closed-minded in Ishgard who are slow in leaving the older ways behind them. Sometimes one must learn to stand up to prove their worth, and don't be afraid to let the swear words fly until they get it through their thick heads. And that's going to be it for right now. Thank you all so much for joining me for today's lesson on the lore of the Machinist, which is a fun job to master because of all that comes along with it. So if you haven't stopped by the manufactory yet, please do so the next time you're in Ishgard. But until next time, everyone, I do hope that you're all looking forward to the next lesson, which, once again, will be a surprise. So until then, everyone, class dismissed.